some retirement planning and budgeting and all that recently for me and my family. And I thought to myself, you know what? I bet this would be beneficial for other people as well. So I would love to talk with you what I've come up with, talk through that with you, and share it out. You guys can make a copy of this if you like, and if it's at all helpful, that's wonderful. And if you know that somebody could benefit from it, that's great too. I've actually gone through budgeting and planning with a couple family members, and I've done it for myself a handful of times as well. And it's been really helpful and a very powerful tool for figuring out, how to get yourself out of maybe some bad debt, credit cards or whatever, and then really planning for the future to make sure that you have what you need to be have a decent life in 60s and 70s, right? On until however long you're able to stay around for. So anyway, love to share with you what I have going on here, and here we go. So here we are. I came up with an Excel doc. I kind of work in Excel a little bit here and there, depending on what the goal is. And for budgeting, especially income, expenses, investments, that kind of stuff, it's a very, very helpful tool. So I use Google Sheets, and this is something I'll definitely share in the link below. Also, if you find this at all helpful, like and subscribe. Right? It helps me out, helps you guys out, and helps get the word out that there is something that people can use that's free to maybe help them out and get them to a better place. That's the only reason I'm doing this. I've done this for myself. I continue refining, but if this is all helpful for anybody else, I know a few people I'm going to maybe ping this shit out to and say, hey, if this is helpful, let me know how I can help. So anyway, here it is. I base this off of, and these are all speculative numbers. I estimate on some of these things. They're very, very loose numbers, so don't take this with a grain of salt, if you will. This is more as a template, if you will, to allow you to put your own numbers in and kind of figure things out. So I used $60K a year annual salary as the kind of the base salary in which I would work, in which I'm working through this calculation. So if you make more, that's wonderful. You have a little more to spend, possibly, or save. And if you make less, that's fine too. Just put in your number and then kind of work everything out. So this is the summary. So this is just kind of showing us we have the income monthly. This is monthly. Monthly. I should put monthly. And then we have expenses here, monthly expenses, and we have investment, a chunk of money for investments that can be allocated to whichever ones you feel are the best suited for your risk tolerance and kind of interest level. So the very basics here. There's a few tabs on the bottom of this Excel doc here. There's an income, which is basically I put the primary job rate based off of $60K a year. That's very estimated monthly return after taxes and all the other stuff that comes out. Put some side hustles here too, like this might not be the only revenue stream you have coming in. So if you have additional revenue streams coming in, add them here, right? And they'll all roll up to the total, and you can see these things changing. Also, I wanted to call out this key. There's only one in this key, but you could certainly add more if you wanted to. But these gray boxes, don't touch them or edit them, because they are pointing to other things, and they will self-adjust as you edit this document. So all of these are referencing different cells and different pages or sheets rather. So income, all of this is here. So right now I'm just saying, hey, you got a primary job, and that's great at $60K a year base salary. So that's what I'm working off of here, and feel free to adjust that as you will. And this is just the sum total of this, these 4 or 5 rows. All right, family expenses. I kind of estimated some stuff here, but feel free to add, adjust, modify, whatever you will. So I put in rental mortgage right here for $1,000. I figure if you have a mortgage, maybe it's a $300K total balance. Maybe it's 30 or fixed. Maybe you're doing 15, but that's still something that I'm just estimating here. Vehicle loan estimated at $275 for a 7-year fixed rate. Maybe it's a $15K worth of car payment. But hey, if you own your car outright, then there's an extra chunk of cash just sitting there for you that you can allocate towards something else. Electricity, utilities, insurance, cell phone, TV, weekly expenses, food, gas, fund, whatever, streaming services. I mean, feel free to add, remove, change, make these numbers yours. But these are the kind of the numbers I'm kind of working off of as I kind of try and figure out how would I budget if I had 60K coming in, and where would I put that money in and all that. The interesting part is the investments part, right? So as we look at investments, there's a bunch of things you can do, right? And this is a non-exhaustive list, if you will. So some of the basics, right? 401k, that's a really important one. You have your liquidity, right? So liquidity is, do you have cash on hand sitting in the checking account or savings account that you can use for an emergency fund? Say you're at work for a couple months, or somebody in your family, needs extra cash to fix a dishwasher, or maybe something breaks, or you need car troubles and need new brakes or whatever. It's always nice to have cash on hand, at least some. I think what people, I think it's 6 months to a year's worth, but that's a lot for a lot of people to come up with. So I just put in 3 to 6 months. If you can come up with 3 to 6 months of kind of liquidity just sitting there for oh man, like something happened, that's fantastic. So seed this with $300 a month, and then it'll grow over time. Just don't even worry about it. Just put $300 in, don't touch it, right? And maybe set up a separate savings account in whatever bank you have or wherever, and say do not touch, just stick it there. Roth IRAs, they're also really good. They're taxed on the way in, which means you pay the tax up front for anything that you are putting into that Roth IRA account. And so when it comes time to withdraw, when you retire, 67, 65, whenever that is, right, 67, 70, you are not going to get taxed on that. That's your money. It's been compounding and earning interest, and all of that is tax-free. And I know I'm just scraping the surface on that. I might be. Please fact check what I'm saying. So but that's my rudimentary understanding of Roth IRA. So it's more upfront. It's taxed upfront, so it's going to feel a little harder to get a good chunk of money in there. But the benefits are pretty good on the other end. Dividend brokerage accounts, another fantastic way to raise capital and to invest. I put a few other ones on here that are a little more risky depending on your tolerance. Crypto, DeFi, crypto blue chip coins. Those are also interesting to look at as far as investments go, especially since they're fairly new and they're kind of taking off. Real estate's a really good one too for growing wealth. If you can save a few bucks into real estate and to maybe get into a small single family home or a multi-family home like duplex or triplex, those are great investments. I had been a landlord for 14 years before I sold my properties and moved, but I'm looking to get back into things, and it's a wonderful way to have a revenue stream coming in and to grow wealth on top of that. So yeah, even if you have your own place and there's like you have a spare bedroom, you could rent out that spare bedroom if you wanted, or if you have an in-law apartment or some extra space, convert that to something you could rent. There's all kinds of ways you can leverage your space to have a little extra income coming in from real estate. Up my accounts are another good one. This is not for you in your retirement. This is for your children. So be cautious on what you put in there because it becomes your child's money when you put it in. So essentially, you are the custodian of an UPMA account. And whichever child you put on that account is the kind of the beneficiary. So they assume control over their account, I think, when they turn 18, and it becomes their account. But you can set up an UPMA account for your kids whenever, as soon as they're born, you can set up an account for them, and you can have you can put a little aside for them to grow their wealth over time. You can kind of use it as a teaching tool as well. Say, hey, this is how you get to retirement in your 50s or 40s if you really do a good job and put a lot in here. And you could also say, hey, relatives, right, put a little extra in here and there for the kids. That's a good spot for it. I like up my accounts a little bit more than the I don't know the other acronym or name for it. Somebody in the comments write what it is, but it's dedicated for college. It's a kids college fund account. I think those are also fantastic, and they have, I'm sure, a lot of benefits. But I'm not sold that my kids are going to know to go to college or not. So I don't want to make that assumption for them. So an UPMA account is a little more flexible for the kids. So if my kid decides he doesn't want to go to college, then that's fine. He still has his cash and he can use it as he or she wills. But if they do want to go to college, that's fine. They can leverage it for college as well. That's fine. So it's a little more flexible, and that's kind of where I went with my kids. I started putting in, I think, $25 or $50, here and there, just to kind of have something going for them, and then using it as a teaching tool. Here I've just allocated, so we had 800, I think, total dollars, right, to spend on investments. And so what to do? So if I were in these shoes, right, and if I had 60K and I have 800 extra dollars I could spend on investing in my future, I think this is how I would break it down. I put about $300 a month in liquidity because I want to start building that up. And then after I get to like 6 months, even maybe 4 or 5 months, I might drop this down or even kill it for the time being. And then maybe put that, maybe into the brokerage account, or maybe beef up the Roth IRA a couple $100. So I had $300, maybe I put $200 in the Roth to max that out every month. And then the extra money in here, or maybe put it into maybe some real estate. That's tough. I probably would stay away from that DeFi and that blue chip coins. There's a lot more risk, there's a lot more reward, but if I only had a few extra $100, I really want to maybe make a little less risky move on those. But everybody's different, so that's kind of how I would think it through. $300 is where I put in here. I put in a Roth IRA account, $300. I do a brokerage account. I'd probably focus on dividend stocks and ETFs, probably mostly on that. But you can't go wrong with like VOO on the Vanguard side. It's performed very well over the years, and it's pretty. It's a safe bet, I guess, if you will. And then blue chip coins, I'll put $100 in there. $100 in there. So I guess I would in this instance, $100, a little more risky, but it's a lot less risky than the DeFi stuff that's out there right now. You can get pretty good gains here, but you can also lose everything, fairly easily. In this, I think, what do I say here? Minimum risk, I'd probably focus on Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe a few others that are kind of like bigger, large cap. They're not going to go away anytime soon. Polygon is another one. Avalanche is another fantastic blockchain. So can't really go wrong. BNB also another one. So like you put any of your money in there, it's probably going to do decently. Then you can stake them on any number of platforms if you wanted to get a little more in your return. So aside from the rise and fall of the appreciation of the token itself, right, the coin, you could also stake somewhere and say, hey, I'm gonna stake it for X amount of days or weeks or months, and have a certain percentage come back to you. So there's some interesting stuff there. But yeah, if your risk tolerance is lower than mine, then maybe you put that $100 into the Roth IRA. So what does this look like over time, right? I think that's kind of the biggest thing I've been working on lately, and it's like, what are the retirement goals? And I'm starting at 44, 45 to really dig in and kind of see where I'm at. So where are we going to fall? So I am making a couple of assumptions here, right? So these are obviously estimates based on a multitude of factors, and this is very rough. So one of my assumptions here is you're starting around 35 years of age, which gives you about 30 to 32 years of investing, right? And so the key here is consistently. So if you can automate these things, or if you can have these things in some way not be your day-to-day, right? So whether you have bots that are automating, or like through Vanguard or Schwab or whoever, just drawing from your account so you don't have to think about it, the better, right? Because you have to manually do these things every month. It's kind of a pain in the butt. I would still advocate for doing them, but if you can automate and make it as easy and as a no-brainer as possible, the better. But consistency is key, right? So if you can do $50, $100, $200 a month consistently for 20 or 30 years, you're going to have a sizable amount of money at the end of that. So with that said, also, okay, it's 30 years investing, a life expectancy of 95 years old. A lot of these numbers here are going to be numbers that will they'll be there forever, right? And do your math, do your research, and I can show you some stuff afterwards. And I'll link to all this stuff in the description below. So all right, here we go. So Social Security is 70. If you take it at 70, it'll be a little less if you take it at 67. But this is factoring in inflation, right? So what's this dollar amount going to be at the time you retire at 70 based on, you're 35 years old now, right? And that's about $4,000 from Social Security. So, okay, all right, that's a start. 401k, we're saying if you invest in, I forget the calculations exactly I used, but I think it was based on 3 or 6% in 3 or 6% matching from your current job, right? So if you continue to match, right, at a minimum, match your 401k, and their company does the same, you could be roughly around 300k in total 401k. When that's taxed at withdrawal, so you'll have to figure out what your tax bracket is when you do withdraw, but I factor in 10, 15, 20% right around there. It wholeheartedly depends on where you fall, and the taxing is a little different too. So it's like up to, I'm making up numbers, but up to like 30, 40,000, it's going to be taxed at like 10%, and then from like that number to like the next 20 or 30,000 or more, like it's going to be taxed at 15% or 20%, whatever that thing is. So it's a tiered system. So it's not like a 20% across the board for all of your withdrawals, right? It's going to be kind of staggered. And there's documentation out there on that as well. So I'm estimating around 1,600 return. That's based on 7%, I think, a yield per year, based on 300,000. So 1,600 there. Your Roth IRA, right? That's pretty good. $685,000. If you're Roth, if you just put in what we had talked about, right, on the investment side. Oh, wait, I have that here too. So all these are being pulled from the investment sheet. So 30 years investing in a Roth IRA at $300 every month is going to have a pretty sweet return. In which case you can pull $4,500 out of this thing every month. And I think that's forever. You can do the math and use some of these tools, but I think you can do that forever. So, 95 or 100, if you live to 97 or 99 or whatever, 102, you don't have to worry about that moving. Your brokerage account, right, 150 grand in there, you can pull it around 775 total. That's if you keep it at $100 a month and investing that over time. And that's given, I think, also a 7%, return on your investment year over year. That's not accounting for dividends, so that would definitely be a thing. And if you have an ETF or stocks that have dividends, you would want to probably set that up so it would recompound right onto itself every year. So if you recompounded all your dividends for 30 years, and then you'd have more than 150,000 in there, I'm sure. But yeah, do your research and try to figure that out. Crypto, if you invested like Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., $100 a month, and this is a complete and total swag, right? Sophisticated, wild guess. But if you had 350K in over the next 30 years in Bitcoin and Ethereum as they kind of rose in value, that's a pretty good chunk of change right there. I left out real estate. You can add your own in if you wanted to, and that would be both if you had something that was paid off, but that's an asset you would have, and then you could also rent it out, and you could have that revenue stream coming in. So there's a lot there. So what's this all mean, right? I think the first thing is, and the most important thing, and I should have talked about this initially, but the most important thing is, even before you think about all your retirement and where to put money and how to invest and all this stuff, right? Try to think about your quality of life and what you want out of your life when you retire. So at 67 or 70, knowing myself, I'm probably pushed until 70 because I enjoy working, right? But think about what that number is and how much it's going to cost to live, right? And so here, let's see here, my estimated conservative cost of living calculated at $5K, which includes a $2K mortgage, food, utilities, etc. for the month, right? So for $5K here, I'm saying you have a $2,000 mortgage on wherever you're living at, and then I'm estimated X amount for food, gas, utilities, etc. This could be more, right? If you have a lot more going on and you have more expenses, then maybe it's close to 9 or 20 or whatever that number is, or it could be less too, right? If you have no mortgage, right, your house is completely paid off, maybe you're down to like 3K. In which case, you could pretty much live off the Social Security and everything else is gravy, which is a pretty nice position to be in. I put in some extra things in here for travel. I estimated a trip every 2 years at an average cost of $5,000. So save $250 a month, right? And every 2 years you get to go on a nice trip somewhere for 5K. And that's really nice. Or save up a little longer and maybe take a, $7,500 trip somewhere. And then fun things, everyone likes to do fun things, and things come up, or maybe it's like the, oh crap, which dishwasher broke, or, my son or daughter needs $50 or $100 or whatever to take over to the movies or whatever. So in total, we're at $5,750 in retirement expenses that we're kind of projecting, right? So, all right, cool. So kind of backtracking from there, right? Well, if you have that number, then you can kind of figure out, what do I actually need to save, right? To have as a nest egg, so I can live off of that for the next X amount of years. So if I speculate I'm going to live until 95, right? And maybe that's a long shot in your family and whatnot, or maybe that's like, it's very common. My great-grandmother's, or my grandmother's in her 90s, right? Easy. So could be I'm hit 90s. That'd be kind of neat. So with that said, you kind of have your number here, and then you're like, all right, cool. What do I need to do this? Well, if I was looking at this number, I probably wouldn't need any crypto. Don't really care about that, right? And I probably don't even care about my brokerage account. I don't really care about that either, right? So if I could say, I'm just going to retire on my Social Security and my 401k and my Roth IRA, right? Well, that gives me $10,000 in the pocket. That's pretty good. That's way above the projections of what you need to retire to be comfortable, right? So this means you have a lot more extra spending money to help out other family members, help out friends, do some philanthropy work, and donate some money and help out your community. You could reinvest that, right? You could set up accounts or have already accounts for your kids and then pipe some more money into that every month to help them out and continue teaching them about investing and leveraging your money to grow, right? To grow your wealth over time. You have a lot of flexibility here. So even if you wanted to kill, say, I don't know, you could even kill this, right? You can say, maybe I'm only got like half of that, or maybe Social Security just dies. Maybe you have, what, Social Security, when I retire in 30 years, I can't begin to think of how I would, how am I trying to say this? Maybe my guess is that Social Security is not going to exist because the government's going to say, so we're going to do away with Social Security, right? I hope that never happens because a lot of people rely on that, and it's helpful for people to have that. But you could say, in my risk tolerance is I don't feel comfortable factoring that in because I don't want to be able to say I'm reliant on the government for those checks in order to live, right? So take that out of the equation completely and say I'm not even going to factor that in. And if it does happen, then great. That's fine. That's extra cash in our pockets. But I know that if there's no Social Security and I don't have any blue chip coins, I have no real estate, but I have added to my 401k and I at least did the minimum matching. I would recommend certainly putting more in there because it's pre-tax and it's wonderful to do that. But if you don't do the 401k stuff, maybe put a little extra in the Roth for a 401k, right? Put some in there, max that out every year. Or set up another one for your spouse. Maybe you have two Roth IRAs going on, right? If you can afford that, that's fantastic. And you have double coming in, so you have 9,000 coming in. The key here is figuring out where your risk tolerance is, and then figuring out how to get there, and do the appropriate actions to get there. So even at this level, right, 401k and Roth, you're at $6,100. And your target's 5,700. So even then, you're still pretty good. And this is all conservative down here anyway. So, if you had your house paid off, maybe you're more like $100. So that's interesting in itself. That reduces your total to 52.5. So, but yeah, it's I think this has been an interesting exercise for myself, and hoping that this is helpful for you guys as well as you kind of think about retirement and where you're at. I also think it's never too late to start. So depending on your risk tolerance and where you're at in life, there's always something you can do to save a little extra money aside and to grow something over time. So anyway, if this is at all helpful, like, comment, subscribe down below, write a comment. If this is helpful, or if there's something else you want to see out of this Excel doc, the Excel doc link is also in the bottom. As with some of these links on the top, I'll touch on them briefly, but yeah, hopefully this is really helpful for you guys. Some of the tools I use, this Annuity Calculator, it's like, all right, if I wanted to, if I needed, how much do I need in order to facilitate the $5,700 right in expenses, right? So how much do I need to, make, right? So if my withdrawal amount is like $6,000, right? And I want it monthly, and maybe the growth rate is 7%, right? On average, maybe my starting principles, I don't know, 900,000, something like that. I can calculate this, and it'll spit out, and you can remove different fields, and it'll kind of do the different things. But if I wanted to take out $66,000 a month, this would give me, based on the annual growth rate, almost 30 years worth. So if I wanted to say, hey, well, maybe it's 1.2 million, right? Oh, all right, cool. If I have 1.2 million in the bank, sitting in a brokerage account or wherever, if I don't pull at $6,000, I could do that forever, right? Based on the consistent annual growth rate of that money at 7%. So if I put it at 6%, maybe, now I get 88 years to draw $6,000 off of that. That's not bad. But the thing is here, right? If you have years associated with this, your account, your nest egg is going down and depleting over time. So I would definitely recommend finding a number that gives you this kind of forever. I can draw this amount out, and I can continually do this forever and not touch my principal investment. I think that's a really smart way to do things. Kevin O'Leary mentioned about how he thinks about his principal investments and how he doesn't even touch the principal. He's like, never touch the principal, only work off of those dividends, right? The things that are coming from the principal. It's like, make your money work for you and never touch that principal, because if you touch that principal, right, all those other things suffer and they'll become smaller and smaller, and then you eventually become broke, right? But if you never touch your principal, you continue to feed that and grow that principal, those dividends keep on growing as well, in those returns, and you can live off of those, you can leverage those, you can reinvest those, and that's one way to look at things, and I think it's a pretty smart way to look at it. So that's a really nice tool, the Annuity Calculator. This is the calculator I use for Social Security. You can just pipe in your birth date and earnings, and it'll spit out, how much it speculates you're going to get at retirement, given inflation, etc. Contributions calculator I used for the 401k. You can just put in some information here based on 60 annual gross. I did 3%, so it's even less. So if you have 6% or more annual increase, and contributions are 6%. That's what it factored in. This is the annual increase of 3%. But yeah, work in your numbers, whatever you're currently at, whatever your employer matches, and it'll spit out what we're going to be at approximately with your 401k stuff. This is the tax brackets I looked at, just kind of to show you that. Like I was saying, like up to $10,000 if you're making in taxable income for that year, then you'll be taxed at 10%, right? But then over that, anything over that, so from 10,000 approximately to 40, that chunk of money in between that bracket is going to be taxed at 12%, right? So it's not a straight 10 across the board. It's a tiered system. So you'll end up, it saves you a little bit of money doing it this way. The investment calculator, this is what I use to figure out, if you spend $100, starting amount of $100 and you contributed $100 a month, and an average annual rate of return of 7% over 30 years, what's it going to get you? It's going to get you about $122,000. But you could put in your own numbers and say, you know what, I want to, my starting amount is, $1,000, and I'm going to, invest $500 a month, right, over 30 years. Well, now you're at $618K. That's pretty good. So not everybody can do this, but mess around with it and see what you think, and this kind of helps drive you towards whatever that goal is, right, that you have identified for retirement. And here's your Roth Ira Calculator. It's pretty easy from Bankrate. Put in your numbers, starting balance, annual contributions, and then kind of where you're at. So this is I think this is me, right? I have starting balance of $6K. I'm going to try and max out my my Roth IRA account. I'm 45 this year. I should have put 70 in there. I'll probably do 70, but I was doing 67 to be conservative. So I'll have about 347,000 in there. No, that's not terrible, right? So yeah, taxable savings and Roth IRA account total. So and they give you some nice information here across this website. But it's another really good tool. So anyway, hope this is really helpful for you guys. Again, I'm Chris, and I'm really happy to help you guys out. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If this is helpful, send me a like. This tells YouTube that this was valuable, and others might want to check it out. So anyway, thank you guys so much. It was nice presenting this out to you, and happy retirement planning, happy investment strategies, and talk to your family. And use it as a tool to talk with your kids too. I think it's really important to share with your kids that it's not hard. This isn't hard, crazy stuff we're talking about. We're just talking about saying, hey, take a chunk of your finances, whatever that is, whatever you're comfortable with, 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever that number is, or even 5%. Take that, set it aside in some place that's going to work for you, right? Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Don't touch it. Don't mess with it. And consistently just do it. Just keep on adding to it. So anyway, have a great day. Talk to y'all later.